Hey everybody, welcome back to Ogre Speed Shop. Today we're going to work on trying to bring this trunk lid around. So we got a bunch of rust on here around the edges. I want to keep the gap or get the gap filled a little bit better, and I want to bring these corners to where they're level on each side. So this one's not above, this one's not below the quarter panels. I'm not sure why that's doing that, but we're going to investigate and figure out why. And I also want to make sure that it lines up in back here too, because if you look right there, see how the edge of it hangs over a little bit. And I've tried adjusting up here, but it'll hit when I open it. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact that this is not level with the quarter panels yet. So probably gonna be some hinge work and definitely some metal work to try to get all this rust off of here. So let's get into it. So I think one of the first things I want to concentrate on is why the corners, one's higher than the other. So I'm gonna take the latch off, that way it can't latch when I have it down. I can get a better idea of what it's doing. So we're gonna work with that first. Now this allows me to actually close it without it latching. So I can play around with the heights on it. This corner right here is just so high compared to this one. And I looked at the comparison of the fender to that corner height-wise, just eyeballing it, and they seem to be the same. So I think some in the actual trunk itself, you can see where it actually dips down here too. This wasn't changed when I did the quarter panels. So it's something to do with the actual trunk. So that's what we're gonna play around with the hinges, and that's not what I tried shimming it one time and that didn't work. So this one, I just have a shim now. So I think something to do with the hinge mount up here is actually what's causing the problem. So this side needs to be raised, this side needs to be lowered. Yeah, lowered. So that's what we gotta work on. So I wanna get that flat first before I try doing any metal repair on it. So that's what we're gonna work on. The thing I'm gonna try for this is I'm gonna try jacking this up a little bit. See if that'll help raise it up, or I don't know. I'm just gonna use a jack for a minute. I wish I had a bottle jack, but I don't. I'm gonna use my my aluminum jack and see if that'll do anything for it. So let's try that real quick. What I'm worried about this doing is lifting the whole quarter there. All I want to do is lift the hinge point. I don't know if that did anything or not. That did nothing. Not a damn thing. All right, on to the next idea. All right, so we're definitely getting somewhere. So this has come up a little bit. This has gone down a little bit, and what I've done to make that happen is I beat on this part right here, the hammer. So basically push this area in to bring this down, and I use a slide hammer and a couple other tools to kind of try to bring this one out a little bit. So I'm trying to pull this whole section out, not the hinge, but where this bolts to the hood or the trunk itself. I'm trying to pull that whole section out. And over here, I'm trying to push this side in. But it's definitely making a difference. It's just gonna take a little bit to get there, but it's definitely a lot closer. And the gap closed up on this side a little bit and opened up on this side a little bit, but just it's a matter of working it, playing around with it a little bit more. Should be able to get those dialed in. All right, so we got these corners to be pretty level now. Still gotta work on the gap a little bit, but from basically this area right here, so right here, all the way around, all the way over here, to here, and then back down, even like all the way out to here, it's really good. And this is where I need it to go to, is about this corner right here. Because I need to do some repair work from rust right here. And I also need to fill that gap a little bit. So I'm gonna be basically remaking this part of the skin. And it's basically just pinched over. So it shouldn't be too hard to extend it out to close that gap on both sides. So since I got to do rust repair anyways, I'm going to de-skin it from about this point here down to here and move that gap. So, because the gap up here is pretty good. I don't know, just maybe might close in this area up here a little bit too on both sides. So this is down all the way a little bit too much, so that needs to be moved up. But we're level now with the quarter panel, which is good. So that's a good start at least. So next thing we got to do is figure out what we're going to do to fill this gap and fix all this rust along. I guess it kind of helps to tell you how I went about doing this. So for part of it, like I said earlier, I went ahead and hammered this in a little bit, the mounting point. So I moved that in. You can see some rust right there too that I'm going to repair. And this one has some too. And I did some slide hammer work on this side to pull this out. And then the rest of it, I just used a hammer. I used a body hammer and just brought this one down so it's flush. And then brought this one up from on the edges to make it flush. So overall, it worked out pretty good. This one might need to go down a little bit. This might need to come up just a little bit more, but it's a lot closer than it was. So now I'm not all dipping down or dipping up on this side and dipping down on that side. So I'm happy so far. Just got more work to do. But we're gonna make this thing look better and look good when I'm done. I had to run to town and get some poster board because I ran out, didn't realize I was running out of it. So I'm gonna make a template, and I'm gonna do it with the lines of the quarter panel here. Then I'm gonna make this fit that to about a 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch at the most. So I want the body lines to be as tight as possible. And down here, I'm gonna be pulling that in to bring that flush with the back. So, yep, got this piece right here. Got 9 more pieces over there. Not that I'll need that many, but it's only 44 cents a sheet at Walmart. So I figure, what the heck, I'll go ahead and buy as many as I can so that way I won't run out for a while. So let's get a template made. That's the way I like to make my templates, and if you've watched my channel before, you've seen me do this before, is I go find the edge and I'll use a hammer or my fingers and run it along there to just get the dirt on there. Then you pull it over and you can see the dirt and the shape where I made that. It's got both sides on it, but we're not worried about the inside. We just want that outside so we can form our sheet metal off of that. Go ahead and cut this template out on the outside edge there. Get on there, some tape. So there we have the general shape. So we're going to compare it to the other side. All right, so we'll flip it back over and stick it up against there. Make sure it runs along the line that we want to, which is the quarter panel line. Like I said before, we're not going to be going all the way up to here. Probably starting right in this area right here and then folding it under. So we want to match that angle right there, that line of the quarter panel. Right, so we got this template. I cut it down a little bit. So as you can see, it fits in there nicely. And it'll give us our general shape of what we need. So, and I'll probably go that big too. That way it'll cover all the way over to this area. And I'll do a separate piece just for the back, but got to replace this. Got to cut that out and replace it. All right, so I've got some 18 and some 20 gauge sheet metal. So what I'm going to do is cut a little chunk out of this so I know the thickness that it is and see which one fits closest. I like using 18 gauge because it's thicker and it's a little easier or a little better for, replacing panels, but we'll see what it is. So let's cut a little panel out. All right, so we're gonna take a quick measurement of what this metal is that I just cut out. And it is approximately 42 thousandths. You can see there. If I can get the focus a little bit. So 42 thousandths, that's closer to the 20 gauge. I think 20 gauge is about 38 thousandths. So almost need like a 19 gauge, but because 18 gauge is about 50 thou. I think I'm gonna go with the 18 gauge for it. Well, one nice thing about having the trailer in the shop right now, it makes a nice workbench. 8 or template. Guess it depends on your region, huh? All right, let's get that transferred to metal. See what we gotta do to make it, to shape it right. All right, so as you can see, we got the piece cut out now, and I had it sitting there until I knocked it off. But fits in there pretty much perfect. And like I said, I don't think we're gonna be going up this high, probably to this area right in here at the most. And maybe I'll do a separate piece for this corner to bring it out a little bit. Depends. So, but we got that piece ready to go. Put a little curve into it so it goes on there. Then we gotta figure out where we're gonna fold it. And we're gonna fold this completely under. Excuse me. Just cutting and grinding. So I'm gonna take a look at the inside of the skin here just to see like how wide it's gonna be. It looks like about 3/8 of an inch. So we're gonna go wider because we're bringing it out a little bit. So I'll probably go 5/8, I would say. Maybe a little bit more. It doesn't matter because I can always trim it. So that's what we're gonna do. And so yeah, we're gonna crease that to fit over that basically. Well, I'm gonna remove this whole skin portion. On the metal, I'm gonna start just by cutting it straight here at that corner. If I decide to add this into it as well, then I can, and I can shrink it and stretch it to make it work better. So let's get that cut. We're gonna go in, I think we're gonna go 3/4 of an inch. That way it gives me plenty of room and plenty of space. And I'm gonna take a measurement real quick just to the gap. So we know that we're gonna fill that gap as well. Okay, so after taking a measurement of the gap, it's 3/8. And then the fold under is another 3/8, so we're looking at 3/4, which is gonna go. We'll go just a little bit more than that, maybe 1/8 inch more, just for the fold over. But that should do it. So let's get her done. So I decided to go with 1 inch, just to give that extra. That's why I gave extra this way too, so. Now comes the fun time, and that's gonna be folding this over completely. We gotta break it and then bend it over and shape it properly. All right, so the one thing I don't own and I need to invest in is an actual brake. But I've been able to use the table to do this before. That's what I'm gonna do with this one as well. So that's what I'm just gonna basically show you that you don't need all the fancy equipment. Although it would be nice, but you don't need it to complete a project like this. So, yeah, that's all I'm trying to show you. So let's get this thing bent over. All right, so I got the 90 bent in there now, and it's gonna be folded over completely. And we'll get into how we're gonna do that a little bit later, but that gives us an idea of where it's gonna be. And I can use my shrinker stretcher to form this, because if you look at the trunk back here, see it does have a bit of a curve to it. So it curves in a little bit right down here. So we have to add a little bit of a little curve to it to make it line up the best. So how I'm bending it over the rest of the way, I'm just sitting it flat on the table. I'm using the hammer to go along and bend it. It's really loud, so let's save you that hassle. All right, so we got that all folded over now. It's a little rough, but we'll clean it up before we put it on. And I folded it all the way down, but we'll be able to pry that open to put it on the pinch of the skin. So we should be good to go. Let's go test fit it. Okay, so what we're looking for here is just a fitment. The lines line up on the outside here, which they are lining up really nicely. So the whole way down, you might have to do a little tweak right here, do some shrinking right there, or stretching in this case. But overall, that whole piece is lining up pretty nice for that edge. So that should make our nice new edge and place this old metal and get it closer to the, you know, some better body lines or better gaps. All right, so I got this first piece pretty much dialed in for the edge. There'll be some little bit tweaking once I weld it into place. And I'm gonna trim up here on this area. And I think I'm just gonna cut this corner completely off. And maybe, I don't know, I might roll that under here too just to see where we're at with that. Try to get that shape in there, but that shape's gonna be kind of hard to do. Definitely close to being where I want to be for that repair piece. All right, so I think I'm good on this piece right here. I was trying to go up around here a little bit, but I kind of didn't leave enough material apparently. I guess when I moved it over, it brought it down too. Should have factored for that, but I didn't. But overall, I got a good gap around there, and the rest of it I'll be able to massage in and, you know, grind in and make it look better. So I got that marked out right there. And I'm probably gonna cut a little bit on the inside of that line just to give me more room to play around with. But yeah, it's about time to cut the skin off of this thing and get the first piece finished up. Okay, so back here is pie cut and then bent over for the turn. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about as far as tucking it up here underneath, but we'll see. Might not be enough material there to do it, but I'll figure something out. Let's get this first rusty piece cut out. All right, so we got the upper piece cut off. So I get around the edges here to, let's see, they got some that weather stripping stuff in there, some of that glue. Not weather stripping, but seam sealer. So we have to clean all this up, get this edge off. So you can see part of it's peeling here, but there are spot welds down here that need to come off. But so yeah, that's gonna be the first piece. And this will be the replacement for it. Once I get everything sorted out and trimmed up and cleaned up, because look at all that rust. Yeah, almost want to pull the whole skin off and redo it, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. See what I can do to get some sprayed on inside there. Other than that, just gotta tear out some more metal. All right, so I got the first piece somewhat on. Still some more mending and molding and, you know, massaging I need to do to it, but look what happens when I close the trunk. That gap looks pretty much exactly where I'm looking for. Obviously it's not quite, you know, it's still warped a little bit, so it's gonna need some shrinking and stretching and whatnot, but let's say for the first piece, we're looking pretty good. Had to trim this back, obviously. I kind of knew that was gonna happen, but other than that, it's looking really good. I'm happy with it. Just gotta work it a little bit more. I thought about it too. Since I'm gonna be doing this whole bottom half, I'm gonna be cutting that whole bottom section out. I might be able to lift this up enough to get some more rust inhibitor or rust reformer, whatever you want to put underneath there to help with the future rust as well. So they ain't gonna look like that underneath there. So, yep. Definitely coming along. All right, but I'm now working on getting this thing to come down and get close to, because it was sticking up probably an inch from the warp. So I've been shrinking this side of it in the middle here, trying to bring this down so it lays flat and doesn't warp and pull this up when I go to weld everything together. You can see the lines are still lining up good. A little bit tight up here, but I can work with that. But so I'm just going to keep shrinking this on my shrinker stretcher over there, and till it lays flat on there, and then I'll cut it to fit and go from there. All right, so I got this panel pretty much done and trimmed in and ready to be welded in. And I left a little bit on the edge here so it can be rolled over. So I can bring this edge in here as well. And need a little bit more of a curve right at the bottom, just to bring this further this way and flatten it out a little bit. But overall, I'm really happy with it. I just need to line this piece up to be lined up with the back of the quarter panel here. So may have to do some, just do some light hammering on that skin on the inside, and fold this over. It should be good to go. Or I'll make a whole new piece going across the top, the whole thing. I don't know yet. But other than that, this piece is looking pretty good. Keeps moving on me, but this will actually go over a little bit. If I can find my hammer I just had. Oh, it fell. If I just give this a little tap right here, that brings it over a little bit more. But anyways, you get the picture. For the most part, we're good to go. The gap on the end is really nice. So just gotta make that work. So that's where we're at. All right, so I got this piece dialed in pretty nicely now. All the gaps are good. To do a little tweaking and cleaning up on the edges and filling. But overall, I'm really happy with it. I'm gonna have to leave this video here, and I'll do the next video continuing over and doing this area here and actually welding everything together. But right now we're at 25 minutes, 23 minutes, something like that. So I don't want to go too long with it because I want to keep your attention. So that's going to do it for this piece. And I'll do a part 2 so we can finish this up. All right, that's going to finish up for this video on making the patch panels for the trunk lid. It's going a little bit long, so I want to make sure I don't want to go too long on it because, for one, it's a pain in the butt to download the YouTube on my phone. Plus, I want to keep everybody's attention. And I'm going to continue this. We're going to do a part 2 where we go through and we finish up the trunk lid over here and around to that side. So, and fill up all those gaps. So if you like this video, leave a like down there. Leave me a comment. Let me know what I can do better. And subscribe if you guys subscribe. And again, I appreciate y'all watching. If you made it this far, that's great. Be on the lookout for part 2 for this and finishing it up and making it look good. So again, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see y'all later.